So what this is basically a big granular patch with some macro parameters to generate an infinite amount of whooshes and glitches. It's almost everything is based on granular synthesis, and because of that, the source material is going to be very important for what we're going to create today. So I will actually start out by creating a blank slate and closing it for now, and just preview the source material that I'm going to use. All the source material is also generated in either Faceplant or something like Serum, and are basically just recordings of me playing around with synthesizers. So one of them, and a very important one, is going to be an explosion. And I made another tutorial on that, on how to create such explosions with Faceplant and Snap Heap. And I'm going to play it for you now. There are some electric samples in there as well, which are also made with Faceplant, but there are plenty of tutorials on that already. As you can see, I also added a little bit of silence before the actual start of the explosion, and this is going to be important later on, and I will get into that by then. Another sound I'm going to use is a glitch sample, which, or that's how I called it, and this is also just me playing around with synthesizer. Very short. Another whooshy sci-fi sample. This one is double. That's going to be important for this as well. And then also one of the more important ones is also based on the explosion, which you just heard before and where the other tutorial is about. And it's basically an explosion and a reverse explosion stitched together into this really intense whoosh. All right, so let's get started. And I want to say beforehand that the way I set up these patches is kind of on the go. So it might become a little bit different, but the core principles are mainly the same, I think. So without further ado, I will open a granular patch, and I will start off by making this very snappy, the envelope, and with a little bit of a longer release. So I'm going to put it like that, and I'm going to load in the intense whoosh sample that I just previewed. I'm going to do that over here because I cannot drag it into the actual granular module from within the project for some reason. So it's over here. And I'm going to attach a macro here to the start position of our for the grains, so to say. So if I play the note now, I will can go through the whole sample, which is already pretty nice. Let's go into the sample here. So this is like halfway. And as you can hear, it's super repetitive, and I'm going to randomize a little bit of the position because of that, and add a little bit of stereo information. I'm also going to add a little bit of pitch variation, just because that way it becomes less repetitive. And I'm going to make the grains a little bit shorter, boost the gain. All right. After that, I will start by, well, for now, I'm going to add another granular module. I'm going to make, sorry, I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. And as you can hear, there's a little bit of ticking going on, so I think I will increase the envelope a little bit. It's not an attacking sound anyway, so. Neat. It's important that it's in the middle of your macro parameter, it should also be in the middle of your whoosh sample here. So I'm going to name this the whooshalizer, I think. All right. So let's go on to our next sample, and that's going to be an exponential rhythm. For this, I'm going to remap our parameter value that we're going to use for this whooshalizer. At first, I'm going to shorten the grain envelope as well here. Make this a little bit like this. Also decrease the grain size and set this on, well, let's put it on 4 for now. And I'm going to add a remap module. This remap module is going to be modulated by our macro parameter. And by doing this, I can adjust the value according to this curve. So I'm going to make a parabol curve, I would say, and make it just like so. We'll be all right. So if I change this now, then it would follow, if I change the macro parameter, it would follow the curve over here. And that's pretty interesting. So we can put our start of our grain cursor over here and then map it backwards to our remapped value that we put over here. So let's see how that sounds. I'm going to mute our first generator for now. I'm just going to see how this sounds. And as you can see, we go into the sample and then back. It's a little bit repetitive as well, so I'm going to randomize the position. I'm going to add a little bit more of a tech. I'm going to boost the gain, add stereo information, and randomize the timing a little bit as well. I'm going to put the grain all the way on 0, and I'm going to remap that value as well, or put it to the remap parameter. Can make it a little bit longer maybe, make the grains a little bit less intense, put the cursor over here. And all right, that's one way to do it. I'm going to add the attack a little bit less, like this. All right, so I'm now going to put the cursor all the way over here, and I'm going to add another macro parameter to this exact value. And I'm going to put it halfway and see if this one is halfway as well. And I'm going to call this one variation 1. So now I can put this, for example, over here, and then we have some variation to where this sample is going to be audible. I'm also going to put the gain all the way down, add another remap at the whoosh macro parameter there. And this one is going to be just for volume automation. So I'm going to only cut it off all the way at the end so that it's silent when the parameter is on both ends. And I'm going to map that here to our gain. All right. So I think this is a good moment to start already mixing these two a little bit together. And for this specific whoosh sound, I would say, I'm going to create 2 lanes or 3 lanes and map them all to the master. So in lane 1, we have our intense whoosh, and I'm going to add a gain over there. And I'm going to add an LFO. The LFO is going to modulate the gain. It's an additive LFO, and I'm going to modulate it backwards. And because of that, it's going to be a little bit, yeah, fluttery, I would say. So let's check that out. And to be clear, we only hear this being modulated now for the granular module above. Yeah, so there you hear it very clearly. And I'm now going to add another remap. Put it in front of the LFO. And add the Whooshializer macro parameter to the remap. And I want to have a little bit of a specific curve for this, I think. I want to let the whoosh come up during the attack of our whoosh. And let it slowly come down, but not all the way at the end. And I'm going to map this to, at first, I'm going to map this to the actual gain modulation. So now if I turn this knob, it slowly is going to increase the amount of gain reduction by the LFO and then slowly decrease a little bit. So let's check that out. That's already pretty neat. I also want the LFO rate to be modulated by one of the remap parameters that we already created. So I'm going to take this parabol one and increase it until, let's say, 17 Hertz. All right, I think it's a little bit too much for my liking still, so I'm going to decrease this a little bit. Neat. So I'm going to copy this one with holding Control, put it on lane 2, turn the other one on as well, and let's mute lane 2 now for now, because I'm only focusing on the intense whoosh at this moment. I'm going to add a multi-pass module, open it, mute one of the actual lanes, and I'm going to add some distortion here just to make it more intense. And I'm going to do that, to preview that, by putting the parameter like on 40%. And over here as well, a little bit. I'm also going to make a macro parameter for the actual amount of flutter that we want in our whoosh sound. So to do that, I'm going to put this all the way on 0, take this macro parameter and open it up all the way. And if I open this up, then it will increase the amount of gain flutter that it's being modulated. So if I turn it all the way off, I'm going to call this flutter, by the way. If I turn it all the way off, then it's off. And if I play the sound, then you don't hear it. And if I'm turning this on, then you will hear the actual LFO. I think I will decrease the volume a little bit. And modulate that with a new parameter or a new remap module that's going to be attached to our Whooshializer knob. And I want this to be very sharp. And I'm going to map that to the actual shift of the pitch. And I'm going to decrease the amount of LFO, or increase the amount of LFO as an initial value and decrease a little bit on the modulation side of things. Let's see how it sounds. And if I turn it off, it's a little bit too grainy for my liking, to be honest. So I'm going to take this grains, put it all the way on 0 and modulate it as well with this remap parameter. Let's see if that works. So that in the beginning we don't have any grains and it slowly builds up. Decrease the pitch and also the position a little bit. Yeah, it's just playing around also with how that sounds, to be honest. I'm going to add a disperser for the low end because it's an all-pass filter and it just makes it sound really nice most often, especially if you put a limiter behind it and boost the limiter a little bit. I mean, I know this is one of the sins it's not a sin, but playing with limiters and especially like limiters that are working hard can be sometimes really interesting, especially for this kind of intense sounds. Okay, I don't like the pitch shift at this moment too much. I'm going to decrease it, put shift a little bit up. All right. Good enough for now. I'm going to turn on lane 2 again so that we also hear this sound again. And now we really hear the flutter taking place. Yes. Okay, it's time to move on to another granular module. This one's going to be really interesting, I think. I will load in the delayed explosion. And this is an interesting sample because what I want is that when our visualizer macro parameter is halfway, I want it to hit this sweet spot with the explosion and make it almost like an impact that's being played at that moment. So to do that, I'm going to turn on this envelope all the way over here so that it doesn't have any attack. I'm going to turn off all the grains so that if we won't hear anything. Quickly turning this to off for now so that we only hear this and we won't hear anything now, right? So I'm going to actually increase the grain envelope size here and create another remap modulator. Going to attach that to our macro parameter. And now it's all about finding the sweet spot on where we need to be at this point in this sample to start playing it. So I'm just going to turn this all the way up so that eventually we'll go through the whole sample. So now it's a 101 translation of our macro parameter, but I want it to start at that exact moment. And that's just finding out where that actually is. What I know is that I want it to stay at the same place more or less until halfway through. And then over here, probably somewhere around here, I want it to hit the actual explosion sound effect. So it stays at the same position because it's now moving here, as you can see over here as well. And then halfway through, it now starts to move. And then around 50%, it should hit it. And that's all right. And then I want to stay there for a little bit and then move on. You see, then the movement of our macro parameter is going to be translated into what we see in the movement that we see here. We don't hear anything because our grains are on 0, and I'm going to want to let those grains start halfway through. So I'm going to add another macro parameter, a macro modulator, I mean, and attach that to our main macro parameter. And this is going to be similar to the other one, but now I want everything to start halfway through. So this is going to be attached to our grains. So I'm going to take the grains here and I'll put them, let's say, on 6 for now. And what it does is that when I'm hitting here halfway through, and it should align with when the cursor is here at the sample, it should start playing all the grains. So at the moment, I'm halfway here with my visualizer, but here the cursor is already starting at the sample. So I need to adjust this a little bit. Let's say over here. That seems fine. And I also need to adjust the other one, no, it is actually quite all right. You see over here that the dot is already at the top, so that means that the grains should be playing here already. Nice. So that's happening, and that's cool. I'm going to increase it a tiny little bit of the position, and also increase some stereo, add some stereo information, I mean. So now it should start playing halfway through. Awesome. So this is going to be routed to the third lane, because I don't want it to be influenced by our gain modulation over here. I'm going to add a disperser over here just to add some extra information on the low end. Let's see how it sounds with the other two modules now. That sounds pretty neat already. All right. One of the things that I also want to do is to modulate the volume of our explosion. I'm going to increase it for now. And I'm going to add another remap. Well, actually, no, I think we can use this one, the first one, because I want to do the same thing. I basically want it to fade out all the way at the end. So let's see. Increase it all the way so that it's... Oh, I shouldn't do that, because then our whole fine-tuning thing will break. All right. Let's see. What can we do now? We can add a little bit of mix over here. I will, let's see, this is the glitch sample. I'm going to take a little bit of the mid and make room over there. With our variation parameter, I can boost it or change the start position of the grain module. All right. And I'm going to put our explosion all the way at the top, call it explosion as well. This is our intense whoosh. And this is our first glitch. I'm going to make a duplicate of this and I'm going to add another sample. And this one is going to be, let's see, I think, yeah, this one. Okay, I'm going to remove this variation parameter, and I'm going to do that with our another parameter. I'm going to let this one start all the way at the beginning. So that means that I'm also going to remove this remap module for now. And I will just make another, no, I can use this remap module that we have over here. I'm going to increase it to halfway. And now, if I isolate it and only want to hear this one, we can hear it probably going up and down through this whoosh. And that's some interesting movement that we have over there. decrease the grain size. And let's see. I will now I will attach the another macro parameter to this start position, and I'll call this variation 2. And let's see. If I go through the whoosh now, then it will take the other whoosh. That actually sounds quite similar. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the parameter that's modulating our start position, put it all the way open so that it modulates everything. And then I'm going to take variation 2 and we'll let that modulate this for halfway. And what it does now is that if I increase our whoosh and without the variation 2 open, it's going to go halfway, and if I open it up, it will go all the way up and down. So let's see that. Now if I open it up, it's just something small that could be interesting, I think. I do think, though, that's... yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So let's route this to lane 1. There's way more distortion on there. And because of that, I'm going to listen to these two together. I think that's our glitch 2, which I'm going to rename now. It's going to be way more intense. And because of that, I'm going to add a saturator before our 3-band EQ, and just to boost it a little bit. And that does a lot. I'm going to spread it a little bit to see what that does. Sounds interesting. I'm going to add this explosion and this whoosh and see how that sounds. All right, going to decrease the volume a little bit. That sounds interesting already, but we can do more. We can add some wavetables just to add some high-pitched information. And to do that, I wanted to make static, so I'm going to turn off the harmonics, and that means that my keyboard or the MIDI note that I press won't influence anymore what I hear. And I will just type in the frequency here, and that will be, let's say, 700. And I want to make another remap. Attach our whooshizer to it, and this is going to be the pitch envelope of our high-end pitch. So I'm going to make it a little bit like a charging sound, I would say, by doing this and then slowly go down a little bit after we have the center of our whoosh. I'm going to attach that to the shift until like so. And I'm just going to see how that sounds at unison on detune all the way open, spread all the way open, 8 things. And I'm going to take a noisy, now let's take a spectral waveform. I'll add it. I will put it in lane 3 so that it doesn't have that much modulation, and just see how it sounds. I will increase the actual starting position or the start frequency of our high-pitched sound, and I will increase it to 800. And I'm going to take another sample, I think. And I'm also going to map this to volume automation. I will turn down the gain, and I will, I think I will map it to this modulator. Not so much, because it needs to be subtle. It can be a little bit higher, maybe? Or not so much. I think I'm going to let it start not so early. So I'm going to create another remap, attach the visualizer to it, and then let it be low for quite a while, and then go up in volume, and then quickly go down so that we only have it in the middle. Attach that to the gain. Let's see how that sounds. It's way too loud and still modulated by the other remap at this moment. So remove that, turn this down quite a bit. And I'm also going to attach our LFO here to the actual pitch. So shift it a little bit. I'm just going to put it all the way here in the middle and see how that sounds. It can be cool, but I want to be able to control it. So I'm going to call this high pitch. And I'm going to map that as a automation for the actual modulator that is modulating the gain. So now it's all the way turned off. And if I turn it open. So now we can maybe increase this a little bit so we have more control over it now anyway with our macro parameter. Damn it. Let's put it like this. And I also want to have the actual high pitch tune. I want to control that. So I'm going to turn this all the way to 700 Hertz and modulate it with our macro parameter up until, let's say, around 1000. Yeah. So if I put it like this, and it will probably be pretty high. That's cool. I'm now going to duplicate this and take another waveform. A little bit at random, actually. Going to change the pitch and change some of the parameters that we just have a little bit of different things going on there. And that sounds pretty neat. And we can also turn it all the way down if we don't like it. So now we have quite some things in here already, which might all be interesting. This one is not modulated by our high pitch yet, so I'm going to do that as well. The same as with the other one, so that we have the possibility to turn it all the way off. If I turn this up, we can also, oh, it was not all the way on min infinite, so let's do that. So we can get quite some variations now already. We can add flutter, or remove flutter. We can add variations. So, for example, this. And we have another variation parameter. And we can add high pitch or remove it. So that's basically the tutorial for today. I just want to emphasize that a lot of this stuff is really dependent on the source material that you use. In my case, I generated a lot of the source material with Faceplant itself, which can basically put whatever you like in here and see how that works. So, for example, I have the intense whoosh here, which is really defining for this sound, I think. So what we can do is just replace that with another sound, for example, this one over here, and see how that sounds. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time, and I hope you learned something from this tutorial, and yeah, I hope to catch you next time.